right, let's get into our next discussion now. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the release of $1 billion to defense authorities to boost the fight against insurgency and insecurity in Nigeria.
Well, the fund is meant for the purchase of security equipment. Now, this was made known by the Minister of Defense, Mansur Dan Ali, after a security meeting which was presided over by the President.
Now, the minister also said the recent deployments to Zamfara and other neighboring states of Sokoto and Katsina is expected to take care of the security challenges in that area. All right, we have joining us now security consultant Colonel Hassan Stanlapo, retired. It's good to have you join us right now today.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Aziza.
Okay. Now, the release of approval, because I have to get it right.
Yes.
Approval of $1 billion. I remember we've talked about this sometime before when the idea was mooted, where from the excess crude account and some governors came together to agree. But right now, it's been taken another step further by the approval of that fund. Now, talk to us generally, because there are reactions from the National Assembly now to say the president doesn't have the right to approve the release of $1 billion. Why is there controversy about releasing monies to fight insurgency going on that we are all aware?
Thanks, Mike. In the first place, I do want to be involved with the legal aspect of it. I live there for the lawyers and so on. I want to be more concerned with what can this money do for us and things like that. Yes, we need the money, frankly speaking, and I think it's important we correct the narrative out there and maybe be able to reshape perception towards, you know, the entire story concerning this money release or approval, so to speak. This money has not been christened Northeast Security Improvement Funding. I think that's one big mistake a lot of people are making. There is a plethora of issues which this money is got to address within the military or in the defense sector, so to speak. It's going to, first and foremost, be able to influence or correct whatever the deficits we have in terms of our procurement initiative of ground. There are lots of challenges with procurement, which I think it will help in correcting. There are training issues. It would facilitate a great deal of training. Somebody was asking me the other day, what training? Which training do I mention in the military? Is it conversion of the pilots from one combat aircraft to another you want me to talk to you about, or platoon commanders drill, or what? You just training. You know, there are thousands upon one training. Depending on availability of funding, we're able to expose our men to them. All right? It's going to address issues bordering even on motivation. It's going to address the deficiencies we have in platforms. And my brother, if you look at how expensive some of these platforms are, be they the combat maritime platforms required to take care of our waterways, okay? Be they the air component platforms. You are aware the US just approved, you know, to sell to us the Alpha 29 to Kano. How many? I think about 12 of them or so. Yeah, each is going for about $50 million. That runs to about $600 million. There are lots of things that we need money for. The bulk of the issues, before I even go to that, when you look at our role within the UN system, especially as far as peacekeeping is concerned, I hope you are aware that Nigeria is about the third or fourth largest troops contributing country to the peacekeeping initiative by the UN. And it is important to even participate more because it's helping to enhance capabilities professionally within the military. Good. We spend money on that. I hope you know that.
But they get something from there too?
From the UN?
Don't they?
From,
yes.
You mean from the operations or from the UN system? From
the operations and the US system. Don't
yes, but it is only after you have participated.
Okay.
Not before.
All right.
All the equipment and vehicles, everything you use must be supplied by your country, maintained by your country. You need money for all this. When you look at the role we play in the AU and ECOWAS in stabilizing the region, I hope you know that when decisions are taken in the AU and ECOWAS over probably moving troops to a particular area or the other, at the end of the day, after the decisions have been taken, everybody turns to Nigeria. Why? Because you are the big brother. You can't run away from it. When you look at the role we are expected to play at the sub-regional level, my brother, you will agree with me that, look, you need a big, virile defense machinery on ground that above everything would be able to also help in projecting your foreign policy. The US talks big and is able to talk down on you because she's got a defense force that can really do what she wants you to do.
All right.
All right?
Yeah.
So look, a lot of ignorance is informing the wrong perception about this money. And of course, too, our immediate past experience is informing the way our citizens are reacting to this. But I want us to understand that, look, we have a leadership today, not just at a political level. And when I say political level, I mean the president in this case. If I can vouch for the president's integrity, portfolio, or status, even though I may not be able to vouch for those around him because of what we have seen of late. I can also vouch for the military leadership, some of whom I know, having grown with them as age mates from secondary school, military school, Zaria, and so on, you know. So these are some individuals you can say, ah, no, oh God, this can't do that. He's such a clean person. Okay. Because you've known him.
Kind of.
But when we begin to look at them from the prism of the last development, don't blame Nigerians. But I expect that some Nigerians so well placed, because I got a bit pissed off yesterday when a governor was trying to paint or bring in some political coloration to this money, you know, saying things you don't expect from somebody of his stature. My brother, we are discussing defense and security issues here. If you are thinking that the government will completely bring to you the entire inventory listing of what we have and what we intend to get and say, look at it in the public, we are talking security. That's not possible. No government does that.
And that's why many are suspicious.
No
Colonel, let me come in here so that we can make it robust. First off, I don't. Well, many would say that. First off, you shouldn't blame Nigerians for thinking the way they are, because the government initially said that money was to fight Boko Haram insurgency in the northeastern part of Nigeria. It was when there were lots of outcry that the government backtracked and said it would be for security across the country to arm the defense ministry, to the security apparatus of the country. So that aside, now you talked about some of the things that the money would be used for, the procurement of arms, of machineries, and all the trainings. Are all those not in place? That's in place? Yes. Till now. We know Nigerian soldiers, not just in Africa, one of the best soldiers in the world. They get well trained. They are disciplined. So have they not been well trained? Are they not getting periodic trainings? Are there not provisions for that in the budget annually? And that is the questions Nigerians are asking for, procurements of this and that. You talked about the Tucano, which is, that with doubt is part of this. So where are the monies for those? Budgets are made for those. So why the need for another $1 billion?
Thank you, Aziza. And it's good you're asking this. So as the more we talk, the more I think we'll get better informed over issues. You can never be trained enough, except maybe age begins to tell on you and you've now got to retire and pull out and so on. Otherwise, you can never be trained enough. If you are an airborne personnel, you can jump out of the aircraft. You still have watermanship training to do if you still want to train. If you've done that, you still have jungle warfare trainings to be exposed to if you still want to train. You train to the extent to which your strength, your capabilities.
That's what I'm saying. Are there no ongoing trainings, programs for that? Okay.
There is. Okay. To the extent to which available funding can carry you. We have manpower issues in the country today, or in the military today, which I would say the bulk of the inhibition is because there isn't enough funding to back our manpower generation initiatives or effort on ground. Why am I saying this? The Nigerian military has attained a level where Frankly, if you ask me, I will tell you that by now, we should be able to engage in 3-4 different fronts. What do I mean by that? You're engaging Boko Haram in the northeast effectively. You are engaging militants in the south effectively. You are engaging, you are providing troops to the UN effectively, to the AU, to ECOWAS.
And even herdsmen.
Look at the herdsmen issue that is becoming another Boko Haram on its own. You need what it takes to engage all this. You need manpower, you need equipment, and so on. As we talk till now, the army does not have its own aviation outfit. So the army relies completely on the Air Force. Okay. By now, the army should have its own choppers. And so on. You can only improve your defense sector to the extent to which funding is available to you. The entire Nigeria's budget, I'm not saying the entire Nigeria's defense budget, the entire national budget is not up to what the United States spends on its research and development in the armed forces. I said research and development, which is just one component. The military is one area where, my brother, you continue to pump in money. More so when you have the sort of role we are playing within the sub-region. If we were to be some Togo or Benin Republic, no problem. To me, you don't even need an army. Have a good police force, and that's all. What are you needing an army for? Is Nigeria invading you? I'm telling you, you don't even need an army. You just have a good police force to keep peace.
Law and order.
Law and order, and that's all. And you move on. Stop wasting money on the army. But when you are a country called Nigeria, you need a strong defense machinery.
All right, let me agree with you on that, certainly, because the role of Nigeria in West Africa and even in the African region, you certainly cannot take it away. But Nigerians have been very wary and cautious because it is on that ground of the fact that Nigeria needs to play all of these roles that governments and even military hierarchy have hidden behind that to siphon monies. There are records of past military heads, amount of monies meant for the training you talked about, meant for the equipment you talked about, meant for morals you talked about. Money is siphoned. We have heard so many military heads stashing dollars in soccerways and so on. Yes. So when Nigerians sit to look at all of these things, would you blame Nigerians if they don't accept?
Mike, I wouldn't blame them.
Exactly.
I must be frank with you. I wouldn't blame them. Maybe I'm speaking from the position of an informed professional.
Exactly. You're talking from the professional perspective.
I know what the money should be able to do.
Exactly.
So instead, I would just want to advise that we should hold the government responsible and say, please make sure this money goes to strengthen our defense on ground, strengthen our military. Make sure this money is spent on these things we are talking about. But not to say that, no, you don't need this money. No. If you are saying, no, you don't need the money, you are speaking from a position of ignorance. Just like Governor Fayose, His Excellency, was speaking yesterday on telly. I listened to him.
But it's not only Governor Fayose that has been talking anyway.
Yeah, when I say Governor Fayose, I'm looking at people within that category. You know?
But he on the first time the Governors Forum gave approval for that several weeks ago, he came out to say, well, they're not speaking on my behalf. Because as far as he is concerned, he didn't see the reason why that money should be...
and besides, you and I know that he's politicizing the entire issue. All right?
He's not for us.
He is.
Well,
you said...
But he has his own points.
Yeah, he's got his point. But hidden behind that is the politics is introduced to the entire thing.
Okay, so you said just earlier now that there is need for Nigerians to hold the government accountable, that they should spend the money on what they've told
it is
them is good. But how do Nigerians ensure that? Because, like you said earlier, when it comes to procurement of arms and other security gadgets, it's supposed to be classified. So how do we follow the money trail to ensure that this is actually meant for this that has been promised us? How do you achieve that?
What else do you want to do other than seeing that, well, there is improvement in the field?
That's how you will measure the spending of $1 billion.
Except you are demanding to be given a list of every single item which the money will be spent on. And I'm telling you, this is national security. Some of these issues are classified. We are not talking of drugs for the Ministry of Health. We are not talking of how many sand in the Ministry of Works and Housing. We are talking about military defense here, where your neighbor should not know what is in your inventory. So if you are bringing it out to the public, go ahead.
Okay, so
it's only the man who is supplying you that knows that I have given you 2 MiG fighters. Fine, let him know that. But let others not know, because you never could know the day you find yourself engaged with one of these countries. And I tell you, in planning or preparing for a war, all right, you compare, how do you know the strength of a nation? You look at its inventory. You can only look at its inventory based on what you know about its inventory. When we talk about Nigeria having air superiority over a given country, it's because we know what they have in their air component inventory, and we know we've got superior ones than them. And we can say, yes, we have air superiority. But can we say, fine, in the maritime area, we also have superiority over them, when we know they have some submarines and so on? So this is it. You conceal your information to yourself. You never could know when the rainy day is coming.
All right, Nigerians, in 2014, the president at that time, former President Goodluck Jonathan, also approved another $1 billion for the same kind of security and all of that. Since that time until now, we've been fighting Boko Haram even before then. Up until now, we have not really, Nigerians have not seen the impact, even though Boko Haram is an ideological war where it is not conventional for you to fight with soldiers on the other hand and on this side to defeat them and all of that. But we still see killings. We still see more security challenges rearing up as herdsmen, because even in 2014, we didn't have this issue of herdsmen like we used to have right now. We didn't have it that time. So when you talk about the issue of measuring the impact of how the fight against insecurity is going, as a way of holding government accountable, what do you want Nigerians to say when there are killings everywhere? Benue, Taraba, Kogi, Kaduna, Plateau, and then even the Northeast.
Have we met the UN prescription for the ratio of policemen to citizens? Which should be 1 to, is it 350 or 400? No. Have we met the laid down standard of a defense man to your population, which should be 1%? That is to say, if we are 180 million, our entire military, armed forces, should be nothing less than 1.8. Nothing less than 1.8. Why am I bringing out all this? I'm saying that, look, there is a need to beef up all this manpower requirement to be able to address some of the issues which you are bringing up, Mike. Why is it that we have the military, for instance, today, I would say inevitably, being deployed in certain areas of internal security when the police would have been there? Because the police has its own manpower issues, and government cannot fold its arms and say, it's police responsibility, I'm not deploying armed forces. Because government has a statutory responsibility to protect lives and property, outside even its social responsibility with the people, or social contracts with the people. Government must meet all this.
Okay.
Okay? So for us to be able to address most of this manpower generation effort or drive, you need money to be able to achieve this.
Absolutely. Now, the government wants to fund the military to procure arms and all that as a promise of ensuring security across the country.
Yes, my dear.
Ensuring security is the sole responsibility of the police, which many have seen that is kind of overwhelmed. So some Nigerians are wondering, really, why not then fund the police to make the police viable enough to perform its role, rather than fund the military that is supposed to protect the territorial integrity of the country? Are you telling Nigerians, in essence, that after all this, the military is going to take over internal security?
Thank you, Azizat, but let's make this clear. Fine, correct, the police should be well funded. And I guess in my last comment, you would agree with me, I went in that direction. There is a need to address issues in the police that will be able to keep the military out of certain aspects of internal security issues. Yeah. But then I hope you do know that statutorily, the military has a responsibility to avail assistance to constituted civil authority.
Assistance?
Yes, whenever called upon. Whenever called upon, that is by the commander-in-chief, of course. Nobody pulls out the military other than the commander-in-chief. So, if they are pulled out, definitely they would assist. The point I'm trying to make is that statutorily, of course, assistance.
What about the police then? An organization is responsible for something. Why not let that organization empower the organization to do the job first off and give it whatever it needs?
We are going back and forth. I have accepted with you that we need to beef up the situation with the police. However, I'm trying to bring out to you that statutorily, the military has a role to play in internal security, especially where insurrection is concerned. I hope you know that there are some insurrections which the police cannot face. Maybe they are fully armed and whatever. It's like drafting the police maybe to face Boko Haram or to face militants in the South, where they shoot off their... You move your military in there to match such challenges on ground, okay? And thank God, statutorily, the Constitution has taken care of that. The military can intervene in the course of insurrections when called upon. The military is expected to be on standby and be ready to avail assistance to civil authority, okay, when called upon. So statutorily, the military can be deployed.
Colonel Hassan Stan Labo, security consultant, of course, retired Army. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the debate will still go on because the National Assembly is reacting to this. But you can follow our bulletins and other analysis to get details of what is going on. All right, we have